Why does that happen? Did anyone else hear that?
Yeah, should I press continue?
Yeah.
Why does it do that? Like, this is the second time it's done that today. This meeting is being recorded. This must be some kind of Zoom update.
Yeah, it's an update, isn't
Weird. You could have had a decent voice. Anyway, hello, welcome to another edition of Shoot the Defence. It's the last Premier League review of the 2020-21 season. I'm your host, Stel. Two co-hosts with me, as ever, but one is missing, so we've got a replacement for the time being until he decides to get his backside on. Steve Eyre, welcome back, mate. How you doing?
Hey, mate. You okay?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good.
Yeah, good.
All good. No complaints for once. No complaints. I was about to say that the football season is done, but we've got playoffs. We've got the European Championships, Africa Cup of Nations as well. There's all going on. The Olympics.
Well, you're missing two big finals this week, or I don't know. Am I diving in there?
No, it's fine. I forgot about them. I forgot about
your team as well as mine.
Yeah, I forgot. I just forgot. I'm not even going to blame the paracetamol that I'm using. Can't even do that either. Anyway, whatever. Andy, welcome back, young man. It's been a while.
Hello, Stel. How are you, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, man. You're all Air Jordaned up today. Have you got a deal that I haven't?
Yeah, I've got a sponsorship deal, mate.
In
the making, yeah.
Nice, excellent.
Since I watched the Jordan documentary, I've turned into a full kit Jordan wank.
Oh no!
So nah. I love the old Jordan baseball caps. Living them still. You should know that by now, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, you've stepped in for Rodri, who isn't here yet. So when he comes, we'll have a full house. So yeah, let's get this show on the road. We didn't do one last week, unfortunately, because of my accident at home. I was too drugged up to fucking do a show. But shall we quickly talk about the FA Cup final, Steve?
The FA Cup final.
Yeah. Leicester against Chelsea. I mean, we didn't do that last week, so shall we talk about it quickly?
Very well, from my point of view, it was Leicester's day, obviously. They deserved it. They obviously got the VAR incident at the end that went in their favour. And, they have been a team that has been evolving, that we thought they were capable of doing something like this, possibly at a consequence. It's made the last 7 days in the Premier League suffer, and them not getting to the top four, which we actually predicted, obviously, on the show with yourself. But in terms of the final itself, yeah, it was a great occasion and great that some fans were there to see it. And, for Kasper Schmeichel in particular, it was a great day. And obviously for the club and for the manager, but for the goalkeeper, he was superb.
That's right. And Andy, Leicester had a pretty tricky run en route to the final, as did Chelsea. But when you look at the balance of play and you look at the side which deserved it, I don't think it will be unfair to say that Leicester deserved it on the balance of play, no?
No, it's like Steve said, it was just their day. They obviously got a decision right at the end with the VAR, which I thought was really, really tight. But going by the rules this year and how everything's happened with VAR, it was the right call. You know what? I thought if any team had won it 1-0, they would have deserved it. It was that sort of game. I thought Chelsea probably dominated the first half and Leicester dominated the second half. So, it was I was pleased though. I was actually pleased that Leicester won it still, because they've been the nearly men, haven't they, the last few years? And it was nice for them to win that trophy. So yeah, it was a decent final as well. Great. Put it this way, the goal that won it deserved. It was an FA Cup winning goal, wasn't it? Fantastic strike from Tielemans, caught it beautifully straight into the top bin. So it was well worthy of an FA Cup final winning goal, wasn't it?
And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is officially our 9th FA Cup final review. We've done 9. There you go. Next year is going to be 10. Lovely. See how long we've been doing this fucking podcast for. All right. Now let's talk about the Premier League. Only one place I want to start right now, Steve, and that's Man City absolutely demolishing Everton 5-0. It almost was the Sergio Aguero testimonial game, wasn't it? I mean, he came off the bench, scored twice. His first goal, as I said in the voice note, it's almost as if the Everton players just backed off and let him shoot. let him score on his final game. But let's be honest, City were always in control. And even when Everton missed the penalty, didn't think they were going to get anything out of that game, did you?
No, absolutely not. And, we didn't doubt Manchester City. Nobody did. But, right up to the last minute, they did everything correct. They did everything right, including the manager that picked the strongest team there or thereabouts, kept the best players on the pitch. Kevin De Bruyne pressing in the 93rd minute like it was the last game of his life. You wouldn't think it's a Champions League final next week, but that is the hunger and the appetite and attitude of the players at the club. Obviously, Phil Foden again would get a lot of admirers for his performance, but it was all set up to be about Sergio Aguero, even though he didn't start the game. And I think the Everton defenders set themselves up passively. I think you quite rightly mentioned that, Stel. They were passive, but I think they were trying to kill another Aguero moment, like he scored against QPR by not allowing him to go down the outside of them and shoot. But what he did do was chop inside, take another touch, and then just pass it with the outside of his foot into the side netting, into the bottom corner. And it was sublime. And we've said this a couple of times recently, and we've said it for 9 years. He scores goals that nobody else can score in the Premier League. And that's why he's one of the greatest. And, I wouldn't say it was a typical Aguero goal, because he's not scored really one like that. And he doesn't get that many headers, but they were just signature Aguero goals. And what a way for him to leave the club and take on his next challenge. Not before, hopefully, he's played some part in a winning Champions League final.
Well, this is it. And Andy, we saw at the weekend Atletico Madrid winning La Liga, Luis Suarez scoring the goal that effectively gave him the title. He's been pivotal in their title charge, and a player that Barcelona didn't want. And ironically, it looks like Aguero might be going to Barcelona to effectively be Suarez's replacement. So it looks like Barca have learnt from their own mistakes. But what a player Aguero has been. Steve said he's one of the greatest Premier League strikers. I think he is the greatest. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, what a player, mate. What a player. I've had the privilege of watching him live a few times as well, home and away. Always the threat. It's like, just don't give it to Aguero. Don't give it to Aguero, please. He's just been brilliant. And, he's definitely one of the greatest. I don't know about the greatest. I still say Thierry Henry, for me, is the greatest Premier League striker. But I would definitely put Aguero in the top two, top three. Still, he was just so lethal. And it was fitting for him to come on yesterday and score the 2 goals. Good goals as well, to be fair. Although Everton are tragic, aren't they? Their defending was tragic, mate. I mean, honestly, the first goal for Aguero, I don't know what they were doing there. Whether they were just backing off him, and he was like, "All right, I can hit this with the outside. I can hit this with the inside." You don't give someone like that sort of time and space in the box. He's just going to punish you. But I thought the header was brilliant. I agree with Steve. He doesn't really score that many with his head, but that was a fantastic header. It was quite far out as well. So yeah, he's just been a phenomenal footballer. And as much as I'm happy he's hit a golden age now, and he's not going to be playing for City anymore, he's going to be sorely missed in the Premier League for sure. So
my next question here is related to another striker. And thanks to this striker, I'm 20 quid out of pocket. Mm-hmm. Andy, I don't know if you watched the podcast a few weeks ago. Everton had 4 games to go. They had Villa, Sheffield United, Wolves, and Man City. Calvert-Lewin was on 16 goals. And I bet 20 quid with Rod that he would get to 20, because I figured, well, come on, he's got to score 4 goals, at least score a hat-trick against Sheffield United. He got fuck all, didn't he? So I'm 20 quid out of pocket. So, you mentioned...
Never bet on Everton, mate. Never bet on Everton, man.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that ever again, to be honest. But what's happened to them this season? Because they started off pretty well, in all fairness.
Yeah.
Is this a lack of, defensive cohesion? Is it Ancelotti kind of throwing in the towel with a few games to go, knowing full well that, the European challenge isn't there? What is it with Everton that makes them such a circus? That's a nice way to put it, I guess.
Listen, they've spent a lot of money this year, still, as you know. They've spent so much money, probably up top 3, I think, they've spent this season in the Premier League. Listen, they started off quite well, getting decent results. They were quite near the top, sort of at the beginning of the season. And they had a couple of injuries, didn't they? Decore was a big blow for them when they lost Decore in the middle of the park. And I remember on an earlier podcast, we said that he was going to be one of the signings of the season, didn't we, Stel? So him losing him was a blow for them. But Everton just, I don't know, man. I think it's in their mechanics still. It's just one of they're just like a Tottenham, aren't they? Sort of thing, soft-bellied side. They're getting all excited that they're going to win the league in November. I think people talk about worst title challenges. That was the worst title challenge this season. Everton losing the league winning the league in November and losing it. But they're just not. I don't know. I just think it's in their mechanics, mate. That the money they've spent has been a lot. I think they've got too many players that that just don't have that. I don't know. Just don't have that oomph about them. When the going gets tough. Richarlison. How many goals did Richarlison score this year? Was it 4 or 5? That's nowhere near enough goals for a Premier League striker. And you're talking about Calvert-Lewin, but he didn't really have anyone else chipping in with the goals. It was him scoring the goals, and when he wasn't scoring the goals, Everton struggled. Is my take on it still.
There you go. Fair enough. Well, I think the less said about Everton, the better right now, anyway. Kind of ended the season with a whimper. But West Ham, Steve, wow. Europa League spot. They were going for top 4. Got to give it to David Moyes.
Yeah.
Got to give it to him. A few years ago, I was very, in fact, even last season, I was very critical of the guy. You're talking about a guy who, took the Man United job and, lost against the likes of Stoke City and told the press, I don't know what we have to do to win. He went to Sociedad and he was more famous for not being able to pronounce Laramendi. He went to Sunderland and his first game was against Man City. They lost 2-1, I think it was. And the first thing he said was win a relegation battle. And I'm thinking, this guy is just so negative, so defeatist. And maybe that United job destroyed him, but he's come to West Ham. He had that stint and then he left and he went back. And he's done a remarkable job this season. I've got to hand it to David Moyes. Top 6, wasn't it? Top 6?
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, he also said, whilst they were losing, that he's not used to this, I'm a winner. And all he'd done for a period of time was lose. So that was classed as a joke at the time. And it wasn't the right thing to say and it wasn't correct. But he can definitely call himself and feel like he's some form of winner this year with what he's done with the team, via recruitment, via coaching and organisation. I think he's got a good backroom team. He's used the loan market well, and he's signed some players. He's obviously got another 12 months of development and emergence of Declan Rice. He's managed to get Craig Dawson to be more than just a lower league player who can score the odd goal from a corner to actually being a good Premier League player who can score lots of goals from corners. And like I say, I think the recruitment is key. He's got better players now. I'm happy to give that to David Moyes. I don't know who does the recruitment at West Ham. I know there was a change, but there's a lot of people involved at those Premier League clubs these days in recruitment. So there'll be a lot of people deserve a pat on the back for the players that they've acquired, Stel. But obviously for him to get them on the training pitch, get them to gel, get them to conform, and then get them to win football matches in the Premier League. I'm totally with you. He gets full respect from me and a pat on the back and a well done. And they've been a breath of fresh air this year.
The thing is, with David Moyes' teams, they're kind of yo-yo. And we saw with Everton getting into the top 4 and then the Champions League qualifying. And that season, it went tits up. Now, next season is going to be another test for him because, granted, the levels of expectancy are going to be higher. There's going to be more fans in the stadiums because, as we've been saying for ages, West Ham have been performing because they haven't had fans in the stadium. But now their fans are back, people are going to expect more. And then you got the Jesse Lingard factor, a player that came in and he hit the ground running straight away. But what happens if A, he joins them permanently, or B, he doesn't join them at all? Where do they go from there?
They go and sign as a like Stel player of Jesse Lingard. You'd never have thought anyone would have said that a year ago. But if that's what's helped West Ham's development this year, a player of that type who can spring from the number 10 position. He had that flurry of goals and assists, and obviously, they're suggesting that he's brought his personality to the team. So that won't be easy to find, but they've found a formula now. West Ham, like I say, they are running hard, they are scoring from set plays, they are tough to beat, they're all of a good age, and they found an identity. That's probably the word I was looking for, Stel. So they'll do everything they can to keep that identity and grow it, whether that be with Lingard or not. They'll have to try and find someone like him, and who could bat against them the way they've recruited superbly in the last 12 months.
Andy, does Souček make it in a Premier League 11 for the season? I think he does.
Yeah, I think he's been excellent. And it's weird. We were actually talking about Everton still. I think more. If you look at West Ham, it's almost like the old Everton side, isn't it? That real reliable team that Moyes built. And Souček, I was just going to say,
Souček as Fellaini, yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to say, he reminds me of Fellaini. He's just really dangerous in the box, real hard character. Big, strong in the tackle. I remember his debut at Anfield last year, and he caught my eye straight away. He actually came off injured in that match, and if you remember that game, still West Ham actually were 2-1 up at Anfield in that match, and then Souček come off and we ended up winning the game 3-2, and it was a big difference. And you're right, he is that Fellaini type for Moyes, and I agree with Steve. They've got this philosophy there now at the club, like an identity of how they play, and I think they could be the same sort of side next year, top 6, top 7 again. I don't know how far they can get, top 4. I'm not too sure. And keeping Lingard's going to be quite important for them as well. I think Man United might be using Lingard for future signings this summer. I'm not sure he signs for West Ham, but we'll have to wait and see.
There we go. All right. Shall we talk about Man United very quickly? 2-1 victory against Wolverhampton Wanderers. It was Nuno's last game. In fact, fuck it. Let's talk about Nuno. I don't really give a shit about this game. To be fair, nothing really, whatever. But Nuno is leaving Wolves. It was quite an emotional day, though, wasn't it, Steve, for a Wolverhampton Wanderers fan? And you saw the way that they gave him that lap of honour when he was walking out, walking off the pitch. And he does mean a lot to Wolverhampton Wanderers and the fans, and obviously the backroom staff and the players.
Yeah, it made them believe again, Stel, and he came with his own ideas of how to get out of the Championship, and that would have been a hard sell because such a big club and, I think fairly unknown. I think we're not being a disgrace to him to say that in terms of managerial in his capacity. So for him to go and back up what he actually believed would get them out of the Championship and then get a seventh and a 12th in the Premier League, again, recruited superbly. He's actually had to deal with the exits of Jota, the injuries, to Jimenez. He's developed a football club. He's developed a football team. You definitely know they get coached because they play with a back three, which was new for them. Conor Cody being the main benefactor of that. So they look a well-run club. They were well-coached, well-driven, lots of fantastic athletes. And he leaves the club, obviously, in a far better place than when he inherited it, which is everybody's challenge and dream. And then to go on to something probably bigger and better for himself, and possibly being favourite for the Spurs job is no surprise.
It's interesting you mentioned that because I was talking to a friend of mine the other day and I was like, well, if you look at Tottenham's squad, it's very similar to Wolves' if you think about it, because they've got the players to play five men at the back. They've got the wing backs to do that. Ed Doherty obviously was at Wolves. They've got Reggie on the left-hand side. They've got someone like Harry Kane who, okay, whether or not he's going to be there next season, we don't know. But for the moment, he's still a Spurs player. So you've got that big guy up front that Jimenez was. And you've got the explosiveness of Son. You've got creativity in the middle of the park. You've got Højbjerg and Dendoncker, very similar players. So the mold, the foil is almost there, but it's just getting that steel in the side. And, it wouldn't surprise me if Nuno does go to Spurs and takes Conor Cody with him.
Yeah. And when does Jimenez play again?
Pass. I mean, they reckon he's going to be available for next season, but I don't know, man. I don't
Because,
know.
but let's not forget, when no one's suggesting Harry Kane has gone yet, but it looks like he might. So there could also be £100 million budget off one transfer, that they could get to spend on the team. It's a real exciting prospect for any manager, and he'll probably look at that as a great time to go in and take over, just like at Wolves, because it's slightly underachieved. Wolves clearly in the Championship, trying to get to the Prem, and Tottenham, where they finished this year, trying to get back in towards the top four. So it's a good time to go in. And if you've got Harry Kane, you've got one of the best strikers in the world at the top end of the pitch. And if he leaves, you've got 100 million probably to spend on a team, which is amazing for any manager. Possibly one of the best stadiums in the world, which will then get filled with supporters. There's new life going to be breathed into Tottenham Hotspur. It's obvious. It's an amazing club at its best. Obviously, they have their paranoia that they should do better, perhaps, and they have their disappointments when they don't. But at the same time, it's a huge football club, and I think it's the right man at the right time for that club.
See, the thing is, people are going to think I'm crazy for saying this, but I said the same thing with Eden Hazard with Chelsea. And it was his final season, and I said, let him go because it's for the best of the club. It's in the club's best interest to get rid of him. And people who listen to the podcast said to me, why would you say he's their best player? I get it, he's their best player, but sometimes you need to get rid of that best player because while he's the focal point, you're not sharing the limelight and the glory. Now, perhaps this is the right time for Harry Kane to go because it gives more players the opportunities to stand up. And it also shows you that which players have got the balls to take that next step and say, right, he's not here anymore. So we need to really muck in. You can't hide behind him the whole fucking time, which is what they've been doing. Yeah,
Stel, it exists. I mean, slightly different, but on the same wavelength to a point. Spain have left Ramos out today, their most decorated player, and replaced him with Aymeric Laporte, who's been trying to get in French squads for the last 5 years. So everything that you're saying really backs up there, Stel, in terms of sometimes taking out the big leader, the man with the prowess, the man with the backstory is a blow, but it actually can end up galvanising lads of a tender age. And, as you quite rightly say, supplement it with some new signings and some fresh blood, but it gives an opportunity for young men to step up and take the place. And seeing it with Spain going into a European tournament, and possibly if Kane goes, it's definitely going to be the case there. Everything what you're saying.
And also the other thing, Steve, Andy, I'm going to put this over to you in just a moment, mate. So don't worry, I'm not forgetting you. But, Harry Kane, there's been murmurs about him wanting to leave. I don't think there's been an official announcement, has there? It's not as if like Spurs have come out with a statement or Kane's come out with a statement. It's just, Harry Kane wants to leave, but no one really knows where the stories actually come from. But the thing is, first of all, Harry Kane, there was a comment he made about Jose Mourinho the other day about how he's a great manager and how they saw eye to eye. And I'm sitting there thinking, that's strange because no other Spurs player really came out to say anything about Mourinho up until now, where Harry Kane has done it. So I'm thinking, well, Harry Kane obviously had this relationship with Jose Mourinho. And when Mourinho got sacked, he was probably thinking, where the fuck are we going? But on the flip side, Steve, Premier League clubs, Premier League players, how it works. I'm pretty sure Spurs, Daniel Levy or the powers that be kind of anticipated this thing happening with Harry Kane happening eventually, because I'm sure he talks to them on a regular basis. Perhaps at the beginning of the season, he said to them, right, this is the final year that I'm going to be here. If we don't win anything, then I'm gone. But if we do win, then I'm staying. Surely this is a conversation that they've either had or they've anticipated for months.
Yeah, but again, I just think it could be really exciting for them. I'm going to guess at some figures still, but let's just say a club of that size can go into a summer, like if Harry Kane was to leave and possibly spend 60 million, 70 million, and then, all the bills are paid, the season tickets are back in, and then Harry Kane goes for 100, and that can get reinvested in the team. I think everybody loves Harry Kane, and I don't think any or many Tottenham fans would want him to go. But again, I don't know the numbers as such, I'm guessing, but you could be a supporter of a football team there or a manager of a football team there that could be in a position to spend 150, 160 million on the team next season. It could be an amazing time for Tottenham Hotspur. And whilst there'll be a sad moment when they see him in another shirt, Harry Kane, probably. The next day, it's like the king is dead, long live the king. You know, let's just get somebody else in. I think it could be in a real amazing time for Tottenham Hotspur. Fans back in their amazing stadium, new manager, probably a new centre forward and a load of money and an opportunity to freshen up the team. I'm not suggesting they're going to become title challengers, but I think it could be an amazing time to be a fan, not boring.
True, but I'm going to flip it and I'm going to throw it over to you, Andy, right? When Gareth Bale left Spurs, many people were saying something similar to Steve. They get a big wad of cash. They can reinvest. They can, reshuffle the squad, bring in players that are hungry, bring in players that want to win trophies, to take Spurs to another level, because Gareth Bale, that money is coming in, big money. But then you look at their signings. Soldado, £26 million. Eric Lamela, £30 million. Etienne Capoue came in for close to 10. Vlad Kirikesh came for almost 9 million quid. Paulinho for 17 million. Nasser Chadli, okay, I think he came in good for 6 million quid. Ericsson was probably the biggest bargain at 11 million. But then you look at others. Sissoko at 30 million quid. Aurier at 24 million quid. Davinson Sanchez. Ndombele for club record fee, 60 odd million. I know Son's come in, he's done well. Dele Alli has come in, done well. Alderweireld.
Yeah.
Apart from that, if Harry Kane does leave and Spurs get 110 million quid, teams will say, right, Spurs, you've got money, and we know you need a striker, so we're going to add on the valuation of this player. Or they're going to say, well, you want someone, then pay. That's how it works. Can you trust Spurs to spend the money, Andy, wisely?
No, and I can't. And, as much as what Steve is saying is an opinion, my opinion is Spurs need more than 150 million. They need a whole new back four. They need 2 midfielders. They need to replace Harry Kane. And I don't think their recruitment team is that great. Levy really sums up everything about himself. Sacking Jose Mourinho with 6 days to go before the cup final because he was worried that he was going to win it, and then he didn't want to sack him after he won the cup. That's the reality of what happened with Jose Mourinho. Let's have it right here. He was worried that Jose Mourinho was going to have the chance to beat Man City in that Carabao Cup, and then he didn't know whether to sack him or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Andy,
and that sums everything up about Spurs, about Levy and how he runs that football club. He's a businessman. He don't really care about taking the club into the stratosphere, as to say. The recruitment, they're going to need a lot more than 150, 160 million pounds still. And then they've got to get it right as well at the same time. My bet is for Spurs to go forward now is to buy 2 or 3 players, build with youth, youngsters, and start from complete scratch. And it is going to be the case of when Kane leaves, that's it, it's done now, forget about it. We've got to move on now and crack on, and others have got to take a responsibility. We've supported clubs that have done that. Stel, Man United lost Cristiano Ronaldo. People thought it was the end of the world. You went on and won stuff. I remember
slow down, time out there. Time out, because when Cristiano Ronaldo left Man United, that summer they brought in Michael Owen on a free, Gabriel Obertan, Antonio Valencia, and Carlos Tevez left as well. Not just Ronaldo, Tevez left as well. Don't forget that. Tevez also left that same summer.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you went on and still won things, life continues still. I remember when Liverpool sold Phil Coutinho, I was devastated. You were saying Liverpool going to move forward now, and we did. It happens with football clubs. Man City are losing Sergio Aguero this summer. You've got, football continues, mate. It's not just about one man. And Tottenham.
Yeah, but you've mentioned Man United, Liverpool, 2 of the biggest teams in the country. Man City, the most successful team in recent history. You're talking about Tottenham here. You can't put them up there.
No, I know what you're saying. No, what my point is that when Kane does leave the club, he eventually, Spurs have got to move on, mate. You know what I mean? Others have got to take responsibility. Because I think Kane has always been one of these players that the team look upon to pass the ball to all the time, for him to score goals. All right, Son's chipped in with lots of goals, together as a partnership. But I remember when Kane was injured. He gets injured quite a bit, to be fair, Kane, and he's out for a good 10 to 12 games. They step up. I remember Son stepped up in the season they went to the Champions League final, didn't he? When Kane was out for that many, I think he was out for 2-3 months.
Lucas,
I remember Son stepped up. Moura stepped up. You've got to step up when these guys are not there anymore, and that's what Spurs need to do. And in terms of what you were saying about the recruitment, I think the new manager is going to have an exciting time at that club, because they've got that new stadium. Their training ground is phenomenal. And they have got a good base to go to the next level. But will they get that recruitment right? Still, you're bang on about the Bale money. That was completely wasted, wasn't it? In my opinion. So they need to up their recruitment. I think they've got good youngsters coming through, and I think the new manager coming in, which by the sounds of it could be what you guys said in Nuno, because it was quite sudden that he left Wolves. That was, I didn't hear of any stories that he was going to leave Wolves. So maybe he's being spoken to by Levy for the job next season. And the only thing I'd say to that is he the sort of manager that Spurs fans want still? Because that's another thing with Tottenham fans, is they like a certain way of playing, don't they? And is Nuno really an exciting manager? He's a pragmatic manager, gets results, I suppose, but Jose Mourinho was that sort of manager as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think it's different with Nuno though, because while Mourinho has won trophies, the fact is he's not a Spurs man, if that makes sense. He was from Chelsea. That's where he got his notoriety. He won, league titles at Chelsea. And when he got the Spurs job, it was the same reaction as was given when George Graham got the job. Do you remember when George Graham got the Spurs job, and fans were up in arms about it? And regardless, didn't he get them to cup final? Didn't they win the cup, the Carling Cup, the league
beat
cup?
Leicester. They beat Leicester
in the finals. Was that Alan Nielsen, when Alan Nielsen scored in the final? Is that my mistake? Alan Nielsen?
I think so. Was it? Yeah. Or was it Iverson? No,
Stefan Iverson.
Yeah, it was Iverson, wasn't it, Steve?
Stefan Iverson.
Let me Google it.
Stefan Iverson, little diving head.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. They beat Leicester, didn't they?
Leicester.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to Google it. 1 minute.
It might be Nielsen, but I thought it's definitely a son.
No, I think it could be
1999 League Cup final, Spurs Leicester City.
Yeah.
Man of the match, Alan Nielsen. Where's the match? Hang about.
Alan Nielsen.
90th minute.
He scored.
Yeah, that's right. It was him then. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So 1999 was when George Graham was in charge of Spurs, and obviously with Mourinho coming in as a former Chelsea man, he was on a hiding to nothing from day dot. Obviously, then you got the whole he plays negative football, this and that. But I think Spurs fans will be excited about Nuno coming in, because he's used to dealing with a low budget. He's used to using the cards that he's dealt with. And he gets results, and he gets the best out of certain players. And as they said in commentary, Connor Cody has been with him the whole time, and he's got him in the England team. Yeah. So, there's proof that he can work with players with potential. Spurs have got a thriving youth academy, or from what I've heard anyway. So
yeah, they have.
I don't see there being any issues there with the fans. But the problem is, Andy, like you said, they expect results. They expect instant results. They expect instant success. And you'll always hear the same shit where it's like, we didn't want him. We wanted Nagelsmann, or we should have kept Pochettino, or this one. You're not at the level to say we want this manager. Nagelsmann has left Leipzig. He's not going to go to Spurs. Where does he go? He goes to Bayern Munich. Yeah. These are levels that you haven't reached. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
so they can't be
I
turning around
agree.
saying, "I want this guy, I want that guy," when he's better suited to a club that's miles higher than you.
Yeah,
It's
I
good
agree.
to expect a lot. It's good to be ambitious, but you got to be realistic. And they're not
100%.
realistic.
And that's why I had this discussion with my friends, Tottenham fans. People might think I'm mad, but the manager I would go for is Graham Potter, simply because I think Brighton play really, really good football. And I think that's the type of football Spurs fans would like to see. Obviously, it might take a bit of time for him to bring in his own players and his own ideas and stuff like that. But I really like the way Brighton play football. And I think if Brighton had a good striker, no disrespect to the lads they've got up top, but I think they'd be in a much, much higher position in the league. They play, lovely football. And, if I was to have a choice between a Nuno or a Graham Potter, I'd go for Graham Potter.
Andy, do you know what? I heard someone on the radio say something quite worrying the other day. He said that Graham Potter should be lauded as one of the best managers in the league because since he's gone to Brighton, get this, their XG has improved.
No, listen. I don't put him as that. I'm talking about Tottenham have got have started a project again still, and I think the way Brighton play football, and let's not forget that he hasn't had much of a budget there, is he? And he's built a good side. Yeah, okay, they battled for relegation and stuff like that, but
he's gone. He's disappeared. Oh, he cut himself off. He's cut himself off.
Daniel Levy's cut him off.
I'm not having you saying anything else about this team. Oh well. But do you see where he's coming from though? Do you think that Graham Potter would be a good signing for Spurs as a head coach? Because when I look at what he's doing at Brighton, granted, like he's doing an okay job. I mean,
Stel.
It's all right, man. I'm just saying that are Brighton better off where they are now than what they were under Chris Hughton? I get the whole budget situation. I get it. But at the same time, are you going to go with Graham Potter, who has done okay at Ostersund and Swansea, or are you going to go with Nuno, who was at Valencia, at Porto?
I get that.
It's more of a name. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are players like Son and Alderweireld, who've played at the highest level for quite a few years, going to look at Nuno and say, I'm going to play for you, and then look at Potter and think, who the fuck?
I know exactly what you mean, and this is the answers and stuff we got back when we had this debate with the Spurs fans. Graham Potter isn't the name that is really going to stand out for some of these players, but. I was just thinking, if you're going to start a new project, he's done well in terms of where he's been at Brighton. Would he be even better at a club like Tottenham with a bit more money to spend? That was the argument I had.
But why not get Sean Dyche? Want to get Sean Dyche?
Well, simply because I don't like the way Sean Dyche plays football.
He's done better at Burnley, has he not?
Yeah, no, I
understand. Could Graham Potter do at Burnley what Sean Dyche has done?
Well, they wouldn't be playing that football for starters, but yeah, they might have been, in a worse position than. But Sean Dyche has been at Burnley for how many years still? Is it 6-7 years? Has it been at Burnley?
More than that now.
Is it more than that now? Burnley have just Burnley. They've always been the same side, haven't they? They don't look like they've got any better or any worse. So I just think there's a bit more of a ceiling for someone like Graham Potter.
I'm glad you didn't say that. I'm glad you didn't say that Eddie Howe should get the Spurs job. Because
he needs to go Arsenal. He needs to go Arsenal.
Yeah. I'll tell you the funny thing, right? I remember it was what year was it? Was it 2010 or 2011? I can't remember which year it was, but that's when the whole Wenger out thing started. It was slowly boiling. And I remember they interviewed an Arsenal fan before a game. In fact, it was the first game of the season when they lost to Villa. They lost 3-1 at home to Villa. And they interviewed an Arsenal fan after the game, and they said, who would you see come in? And the guy goes, well, there's a guy at Bolton that's doing well, Owen Coyle.
I remember that still.
Oh, mate, honestly.
God,
I don't know. Fuck knows. All right. Listen, you're on the subject of Graham Potter. Brighton, they lost 2-0 against Arsenal, Andy.
Yeah.
Not a performance that you expected from Brighton. I thought they'd step up a little bit more, but you know, if anything good has come out of this game is that Bissouma is back in the shop window. He's a player that Arsenal are looking at the moment, apparently.
Yeah, I want Liverpool to sign him. To be fair, I think he's an excellent player. Every time I watch him, he's always one of the standout performers.
Can he play centre back in case you need him?
That's true. Yeah, I watched. I'm not going to lie. I watched the highlights of the Arsenal Brighton game, and it just looked like a game that took place on holiday, didn't it? Both teams were in complete cruise control, and the flip flops were out from a few of the players. And Nicolas Pepe decided to play football. He was the only one that decided to play football. 2 good finishes as well, to be fair, from Nicolas Pepe. I think that's at 5 in 4 now he's got. So, you know, finding a little bit of form, unfortunately, as soon as the season finishes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was from the highlights that I saw, mate, it looked like it was a game that took place in Costa del Sol somewhere, you know, with all the players wearing their flip-flops and typical end of season, pre-season type game it was.
Yeah. Steve, have you ever been in that kind of situation where, like, you know, it's the final game of the season, but you got a flight to catch straight after? Because I remember going on a holiday a few years ago, and I was in Dubai, and I landed in the evening, slept, woke up in the morning, went downstairs for breakfast, and then half of the West Brom squad were there. Turns out that as soon as the game finished, they all got on the coach to Heathrow, and then they flew out to Dubai. Most of them were still in their training kits and all that. So yeah, is that something that you've seen before in the past?
Not really, and you lead the lads to it. Really, I've obviously never been in that spot as a staff member. Hate the word dead rubber. Hate the word free hit that gets used in sport. It's an opportunity to play for your team, your supporters, your family, some win bonus, some points. Yeah, dead rubber and free hit should be banned from anybody's language. You should never hear Roy Keane. I mean, he was successful, but you just can't imagine Roy Keane or Steven Gerrard say, "Oh, it's a free hit, it's a dead rubber." Yeah. It's just not right. But in terms of getting away quickly, the lads work hard all year round. They earn the money, and if the time off reads that you finish on the last day of the season, literally, and you can go on holiday the next day, then good luck to them.
There you go. Lovely.
Yeah.
Right. Let's talk about this top 4 race, shall we? Because weeks and weeks and weeks ago, we were discussing who's going to get in the top 4, who's going to drop out, and we said, Steve, Liverpool going to do it.
Yeah, and Leicester wouldn't.
And Leicester wouldn't. And lo and behold, well, there you go. We called it. We called it again. And look, with Leicester getting a goal up against Spurs, I thought they might be able to hold on. But I went on a podcast the other week, Views TV, and I said, Leicester are lucky that they've got the FA Cup final before the season ends. Because if they go into the FA Cup final, dropping out of top 4, then their confidence going into that cup final will be absolutely shot. They obviously won the cup. They're on a high. They've gone into the last few games. But I also said that players like Soyuncu have got mistakes in them. And he made a costly error at the weekend. Yeah. I didn't think Leicester could maintain the momentum. And let's be real, man. They've been in the top 4 for over 240 days. Yeah. And now they're out of it, and they're not going to make it. And I don't know if you saw at the end, Steve, when Brendan Rodgers came out holding the FA Cup, doing the lap of honour, the look on his face, he was like, I don't want to be here.
Well, Kasper Schmeichel said as much, Stel. You know, I feel totally deflated. That was his first line on his interview. So, you know, he seems a really honest, well, I knew him as a kid, but grown up into a fantastic goalkeeper and man. And how do you feel? He could have winged it, he could have masked it, but he said, no, I'm completely deflated. So I think that speaks for everybody from Leicester City. And I think there's a phrase somewhere there, isn't there, 7 days in football. It just shows you what the game can do to you, good and bad. Could be worse, though.
Where do you think it went wrong for them? Because I know...
It just faded.
Well, I've read so many people gone with the same material as they did last season. Well, people say, oh, they got injuries, they got this, but they strengthened in the summer. So it's not as if they had the same squad as last season. Okay, I get it. Jamie Vardy went on a goal drought, but you can't keep relying on Jamie Vardy to score you goals. You need them all over them.
Johnny Evans getting injured didn't help them, although he got a good run of form and games this year, but obviously didn't finish the season. You never feel that Iheanacho is going to be anything other than a sub, despite his flurry of goals. He's done way and above and beyond to put Leicester in a real, healthy position. But I never thought he could keep that going all the way, like consistently till the end of the season. To be fair, Vardy, stepped back up again like he always does. He always seems to bounce back from dry spells or this injury that he's had this time, which seemed to have took a little bit out of him. You get the feeling Maddison's come back at about 70, 80%. So I can sympathise with the injuries, but every single football team in the Premier League and manager are going to say the same, that they've missed key players this year, probably none more so than Liverpool. So it's part of the game, and I just think that Liverpool got stronger, possibly helped that the crowd gets back. Certainly seems to be the mojo for Jurgen Klopp, who... I'm not convinced about his character in the empty stadiums because was quite passive. But the moment there's some audience there, he reacts, he responds, and it looks like the players respond to him. So he's supposed to be a world-class manager, but he's not done great in the empty stadiums, but does amazing in the busy ones. So that's a little blot on his copybook as far as I'm concerned, because he wants to run to the corner flag, he wants to kiss the badge, he wants to bang his chest, but didn't do that for all the time there was an empty stadium. So it's still a goal going in the back of the net. Why would you not still be that person? But nevertheless, it worked towards the end because it brought the best out of him and he brought the best out of the team, and they got in the top four.
Absolutely. Well, Andy, let's quickly talk about Brendan Rodgers here, mate, because we saw Roberto Martinez win the FA Cup with Wigan. We saw Harry Redknapp win the FA Cup with Portsmouth. Brendan Rodgers has done it with Leicester, but if you look at history, they bottled the title with Liverpool as head coach. They bottled top four last season. They've done it again this season. Now, as good as he is as a coach, as good as he is as a manager, you can't instill bollocks or balls of steel. You can't instill that in your players. It's there. It's in the DNA. So where did Leicester go wrong? And Steve says they faded. Was it injuries? Was it form? Was it bottle? What was it?
Yeah, a bit of everything, really. I think the injuries never helped. As Steve said, Johnny Evans was a big blow for them. He's quite a good, very good organizer at the back, and they struggled when he got injured. And I think just the psychological thing of what happened last season still started creeping into their minds, didn't it? Here we go again, sort of scenario. I think they were in the top four the most last year as well, weren't they? Out of all the clubs, and they dropped out. And I just think, that coupled with a couple of the injuries that they had, a few players going off form. I think Maddison went off form as well when he came back from injury. He was on the bench quite a bit, wasn't he? Unfortunately, I'm as a Liverpool fan. Listen, for me, it was only about us getting into the top four, but if I would have loved a team to get in there this year, it would have been Leicester after what happened last year. But unfortunately, the same thing happened again, mate. And it's certainly something that they need to iron out if they're going to mount another challenge next year.
And what about your boys then, Andy? Because as I said, we called it that you guys would get back into the top four. We felt that Liverpool had too much going forward. The goalkeeper that is one of the best in the world, keeps clean sheets. As you've seen, he can score goals as well. And for a team that has had... I
don't know how you guys called it, because after Fulham at home, mate, I was gone, mate. I thought the season was done. I thought the mentality was completely wrong. I thought Klopp's mentality was wrong. I agree with Steve to an extent. I think this year, Klopp's been dealing with a lot of stuff this year, and you can see it's clearly rattled him. I don't think the death of his mother helped. I know that she was ill for a while and he couldn't go and see her, and then she died, and then he couldn't go to that would definitely affect a human being, and I could see that it affected him on that touchline. And I do get what Steve's saying. He is an adrenaline type manager where he's got that crowd behind him. It gets him going. But to be fair, we only had that against Crystal Palace this year at home, the last game of the season. I personally think still he just, I mean, you guys called it saying that, you know, we had a lot going forward, but that was never the problem with us. The problem with us is Klopp never trusted his centre-backs. He never trusted Nat Phillips and he never trusted Reece Williams. And I think after the Fulham game, he just probably sat back with his staff and thought, you know what, we just got to play to our strengths. We've got to get Fabinho back into midfield because, you know, Man City had the same sort of problem last year when Laporte got injured and they had to play Fernandinho at the back. It sort of ruined the balance of their team, didn't it? And it certainly ruined the balance of our team because we lost the ability to win the ball high, which, you know what Liverpool like. They love winning the ball in transition, and then you've got Mane and Salah running at you, and it causes all sorts of mayhem for the opposition. We just never had that. We weren't creating chances. And I just think that last 10 games, he just sat back with his staff and said, let's go with the young star. Let's go with Nat Phillips. And you know what, Stel, I'm so proud of them too, because, you know, Nat Phillips was playing in the second division in Germany last year with Stuttgart. And not a lot of people know that Reece Williams was playing for Kidderminster in the non-league. And for him to come in and do what he... Listen, you could see there was mistakes in him, you know, but I thought both of them two, they should be really proud of their efforts this year. And that last 10 games was more like the Liverpool that we've seen the last 2 or 3 seasons. And with the way we play with Fabinho in midfield, you're going to create chances and you're going to score goals with the likes of Mane and Salah.
The thing is, Andy, when you look at the season in general, Alisson had injuries. Van Dijk was out for the whole. Gomez was out for the whole of it. Alexander had COVID, long COVID. Fabinho was injured at some point. Wijnaldum, Jordan Henderson, Jota. So
Thiago.
Yeah. That's 9 players. Okay, 8 of them, I'd say 7 of them would be regulars. I know Jota and Thiago came in, so I wouldn't class them. But you get what I'm saying. So when you look at the way that Liverpool bounced back, I think it's been fantastic. And yeah, okay, fair enough. Klopp has his critics, and I'm one of them as well. But I can't not give him his flowers on this occasion. Yeah, because you know the team has to respond in a certain way, and they have. They responded the way that you want. And do you know what? When you look at the league table, they only finished 5 points behind Man United. Only 5 points. And I know people are going to say, well, you know, United had the Europa League final to concentrate on and they took their eye off the ball, but that's irrelevant for me. That's irrelevant. You know?
No, I totally agree still. Listen, the fact that we finished 3rd yesterday, I've been watching the season all season with my kids, and, you know, there was not a chance that we thought we were going to finish 3rd this year. We thought we're just going to, if we're going to get in the top 4, we're literally going to scrape in. But to finish 3rd was remarkable, and clear 3rd as well is remarkable as well. But I really do believe still that Klopp was getting it wrong. He was getting it wrong. I don't think he trusted his centre-backs, which meant, you know, shifting the whole midfield into the back 4. And then by doing that, then you're limited Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. And you saw the team. It was not Liverpool. It was not the Liverpool that we've seen the last...
The Turkish kid.
I'm not too sure, mate. I've heard a little. Well, it's a big rumor now, but I've heard within the next couple of days they're going to announce Ibrahima Konate from Leipzig. Okay. Which is going to be a good signing. Can I be honest with you, mate? I think Nat Phillips deserves. If it's between Nat Phillips and Ozan Kabak, who by the way is a decent young player, Kabak. I thought he started coming into his own before his injury. But I'll keep Nat Phillips, mate. I think he deserves a place in that squad. He's not let the team down at all once this year, is he? He's come in, he's done a job. Listen, he's not the most pleasing on the eye, but he's a defender, mate. He's an actual defender. He defends. He can head the ball well. He gets his body in front of people. He's got that Terry Butcher type. He wore the airband yesterday, didn't he? But I think if you're going to keep, if you're going to make a decision between Kabak keeping him, which I think is going to be an £18 million. £18 million is his clause, I think. buy him. On Nat Phillips, I would save the money, keep Nat Phillips. You're going to have Virgil van Dijk, you're going to have Gomez, Matip, you're going to bring in Kanate as well. So you're going to have 5 centre backs there. I think we should be saving our money for other players in other positions, if I'm being honest.
Okay. Excellent. Right. Let's talk about the final team that snuck in 4th place, and that's Chelsea. And Steve, I've never understood the hype about Thomas Tuchel. Never. And for me, he's just another one of these new head coaches with new ideas, and people claim he's going to revolutionize the game, and he uses terms like half space, and he wears tight clothes, and because he's German, that means he must be cool. Now, okay, he's got Chelsea to a Champions League final. I'll give him that. But what has he done that Frank Lampard didn't do in his first season? Frank Lampard got Chelsea into the top 4. He got Chelsea into an FA Cup final, which they lost, which is what Tuchel has done. So what has he done different? I mean, let's be 100% honest. I mean, Tuchel has got these players that Lampard has brought in, but Lampard wasn't given the opportunity to have the whole season with these new players that he signed. So should the German be given all the praise that he's being given at the moment? Because I don't see anything really special about this Chelsea team.
I'm with you, Stel, but what he has done, to give him some credit, and for me to be fair, he's earned the right to get longer to do it. He's proven that he is, at the very least, solid and a safe pair of hands. That's at the very least. There was a spell where they were excellent, but he's still not got his goal scorers firing. None of them have. Everything you just said is right, that in terms of Frank Lampard got them to a final. Frank Lampard got them into the top 4. Didn't get them into a Champions League final, but Tuchel has done this with Frank Lampard's signings. So between them, they've done pretty well. He's earned the right for me to, go into next season with some credibility and maybe say to Roman Abramovich and the rest, okay, yeah, we won the Champions League final. That would obviously help him. Or we ran the best team in England close to taking it, and I now want 3 or 4 of my own players. So I think he's. I'm not going to suggest he's breathed new life into the Premier League, and it's like the Emperor's new clothes, Stel. Absolutely. If anything, it's old wine in new bottles, really. So we'll wait and see what he does. But I think he's been welcomed, and I think he has slightly improved the team, and he's gone a different way. Alonso come back in, Rudiger came back in. He basically ostracised Tammy Abraham. He's done some big calls. And we'll see how they do next week, obviously hoping that they get beat. But I'll be more interested to have a safer, fairer opinion on him next season. But it goes with yours, though, Stelmine, that he's actually not done that much different to what Frank Lampard did, if we're judging it over the whole of Frank Lampard's tenure, to where Chelsea have actually finished the season. But they have a chance of greatness next week.
Well, see, this is it. And if Chelsea don't win the Champions League final, the running gag will be, well, what has Thomas Tuchel done that Frank Lampard didn't? And it will be lose the Champions League final. That would be the gag, wouldn't it?
Well, it will be.
But Andy, listen, I said this at the beginning of Tuchel's tenure. I was like, well, Jurgen Klopp is a good manager. He hugs his players. Thomas Tuchel tickles his players. That's why I call him Tommy Tickle, because that's how he seems to get the best out of them. What have you made of his Chelsea style? Look, I don't want to slate the guy because, obviously I've got my anti-Dortmund agenda, because I don't really rate that club, to be fair, and I call them fraudmen. But so anything that comes out of that club, I just like, whatever. But, he got to a Champions League final with Paris Saint-Germain. He lost.
Yeah.
He was under immense pressure for months at Paris Saint-Germain. And I think that Champions League run kind of kept him in a job for as long as it did. But we saw at the beginning of this season how their players just down tools. Neymar down tools, Mbappe down tools, Ander Herrera, etc., etc. He's come to Chelsea. He's breathed new life in them, per se. But we've seen in the past how these Chelsea players can be so flaky and fractious. If he doesn't have every single player on his side, he's fucked. All it takes is 1 or 2 to go against him, and that's it.
Yeah, he looks like a headmaster type manager.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. I mean, like Steve mentioned, the way he's alienated Tammy Abraham, when I thought Tammy Abraham was doing quite a good job under Frank Lampard.
He's still the leading goal scorer, even though he's been ostracised.
That's what I'm saying. It's a bit strange what he done there, and I don't know why he's done it, unless Tammy's given him a bit of attitude. But it's like what you said. It's like what I said earlier. He looks like that sort of headmaster type manager, where it's my way or no way sort of thing. I'm a little bit with Steve on this one. I can't judge him until next season. The only thing I will say is he's probably made them a little bit more solid than what Frank did as a manager. But Frank had them more flowing in an attack. If I'm being honest, I thought they looked more dangerous under Frank Lampard in terms of when they went forward. They looked like they could score 3 or 4. So it's. I think it's just about that balance, isn't it? Next season, will they go for Harry Kane? They're another club that have been linked with Harry Kane, and personally, I think he'd be brilliant in that side, especially with the likes of your Mason Mounts and your Pulisic's and your ZX, supplying him because it just doesn't seem to have worked for Timo Werner. I don't think I've ever seen a player being caught offside so many times. He's just got no recollection of where he is on the pitch. That fella. He just stands in front of goal and just waits for the ball. In the Leicester game last week, still, I think he got caught offside about 20 times, mate. You know what I mean? And I don't think it's worked for him this year. But again, he's another guy that I think we judge next season. One season in the Premier League, getting used to the pace of it and everything. I think next year Timo Werner is another guy that it could be a make or break season for him there.
Well, it'll be a massive season for him, won't it? But you mentioned Harry Kane going to Chelsea, and it reminds me of a clip I saw on a podcast the other day where a girl said that if Harry Kane joins Chelsea, there's going to be riots just like the Tottenham riots. And I'm sitting there thinking, you're comparing the Tottenham riots where a black guy was killed to
crazy
Harry Kane joining. This is what I'm talking about. Context. Context is key here, right? If you're going to say something, do your research.
Yeah.
Do your research, get your facts right, and don't make yourself look like a dickhead.
Yeah, I mean, is it if Harry Kane was to sign for Chelsea, would it be a worse move than when Sol Campbell went to Arsenal?
Yeah. Well, see, this is the thing, because Sol Campbell left for nothing.
Yeah.
And then he won the double.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But what I'm saying is I know there's a rivalry. There's obviously a clear rivalry between Tottenham and Chelsea. But would it be I remember when Sol Campbell went to Arsenal, it was terrible, man. There was literally, Sol Campbell literally was getting death threats and people outside his house and stuff like that. If you remember still.
Yeah.
Will it be that bad if Kane went to Chelsea?
The thing is, someone was telling me that someone from Chelsea's board of directors really doesn't get on with Daniel Levy, so there will never be any business done between the two clubs. Never.
Yeah.
So Chelsea can offer 300-400 million, and Levy will still say no because he doesn't get on with the guy so much.
Listen, I can't see Harry Kane going to Chelsea anyway. For me, I think Harry Kane's going to go to Manchester City this year. I think Aguero leaving, and I think Kane comes in. That's my opinion. I think he would probably want to move somewhere up north, not be in London, because he was at a London club sort of thing. Just get away, fresh start. But from what my personal opinion is that Kane will go to one of the Manchester clubs, and I think it'll be Man City.
Yeah,
so
it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah.
But then again, knowing Guardiola and his transfer policy, he always brings in these like little curveballs. Ferran Torres being one of them. Some players that you wouldn't expect to bring in. And while Harry Kane would it'll send shockwaves through the rest of the world if you join City, especially if they win the Champions League.
Yeah.
That'll be a massive statement. It will remind me of Alan Shearer. Do you remember Shearer when he left Blackburn? Euro 96. Had a great Euro 96 and he went to Newcastle.
that, you know what, Stel, I'm just going to say, will Manchester United allow history to repeat itself? They lost out on Shearer.
But Shearer didn't want to go.
But what I'm saying is they would want to get the next, because let's be honest, the next Alan Shearer has been Harry Kane, hasn't it? You know, in terms of England goal scoring and a top English striker in the league. But for me, I think he's actually more suited as a Manchester United striker than what he would be as a Man City striker. I don't know what Steve thinks about that, but I think he's more suited as a Manchester United player than
Steve wants Alfie's son to join City.
Yeah,
Haaland.
I'd be happy with either. I'm happy with either. And Harry Kane's good enough to play for any team in the world. And if he's a Manchester United player, as a leading focal number 9, like they're trying to do with Cavani at the moment, then great. I totally agree with you. But if he's a Manchester City player and all of a sudden he's playing with Kevin De Bruyne, Riyad Mahrez, Phil Foden, Ilkay Gundogan and Bernardo Silva, I'm sure he'll cope.
Oh, more than definitely. What my point was,
you'll get at least 10 goals. You'll get at least 10 goals.
Yeah, will he go for? You know, will Kane be Aguero's replacement? Do you think, Steve?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Because
I think so too.
You know, they're talking about that he might be there for 5 years. Well, that would be Pep Guardiola's legacy too. You know, talking about players that have been there for 10 years. You know, Fernandinho, David Silva, Yaya Toure, almost Joe Hart, Pablo Zabaleta, Sergio Aguero. But you can't be romantically attached to think that City are going to sign players for 10 years all the time. You're going to have Phil Foden for about 19 years. You can sell players like Douglas Luiz, Angelino for 20 million apiece to Leipzig, Aston Villa, whatever. It's not a problem, I don't think, for Manchester City that Harry Kane will come and they possibly don't get a return on 100 million, but they might get 4 or 5 with unprecedented success, and that might be just about the time of Guardiola's stint. So it all just goes hand in glove. Yeah,
I totally agree, mate. And this is why I believe he's going to be a Manchester City player, rather than a Manchester United one. You know, and that will really, I mean, as a Liverpool fan, you know, it's been hard enough winning a title in the 1 year out of the 4. You know, with Manchester City. You know, I thought it was an amazing achievement to do that against this Manchester City side. But with Kane coming in, I mean, wow, it's like what Stel said. Is, you know, teams are going to just be thinking, you know, how do we stop this side, man? It's going to be frightening. It's going to be frightening.
Great stuff.
Wonderful. Right. Well, that's it for another episode, gents. I can't really think of anything else that's worth discussing. The relegation battle was pretty much done. Spurs
a year ago.
Yeah, Spurs will be in the Europa Conference League, and we saw a photograph of their players celebrating.
Can I just ask about this Europa Conference League quickly,
yes.
Still? Especially Steve being involved. Do you think these 36 games in this Europa Conference, I think it's about 36 games, isn't it, Still? Do you think Spurs will use that as literally a little stepping stone for the academy players and a good opportunity for them?
I'm not so sure. I don't know. They've never bloodied any young players in the past. What's the nearest thing they've done? They sing about Harry Kane being one of their own, and they've had Harry Winks, but they've not really had any others that have.
Tanganga being one, I think.
Yeah.
One,
I don't know whether it'll be a development games program or not. I don't know too much about it at this stage.
Well, I know that the winners of this tournament go to the Europa League, so
right.
it's not something major if they win it
next season to the Europa League.
Well, I was So if they win the Europa Conference League, they go to the Europa League next year still. And I was actually discussing this when I told you I wrote Liverpool off after the Fulham game. I was thinking, oh my God, we're going to finish in the Europa Conference League, and I was thinking maybe teams might use this to blood in some youngsters from the academy. You know, because I think it's basically teams that don't qualify for the Europa that are in this competition. So, you know, I just thought I'd ask Steve if he thought it would have been a good opportunity in a tournament like this to blood in youngsters and what it might do for them.
Well, winning the Europa League gets you into the Champions League, doesn't it?
That's right, yeah.
That's the thing. So
But
if
winning the Europa Conference League
gets you into the Europa League.
gets you into the Europa League, yeah.
But what if you're one of those teams that ends up in the Europa League spots? This is what I'm saying. Like, there's no point. They should have brought back the Cup Winners' Cup. They
Yeah.
should have had
Is this like the Cup Winners' Cup though? Still,
No,
this
because
thing?
it's not for Cup winners, is it?
Yeah, yeah. But what I'm saying is it that sort of format? Is it that sort of European competition, the
No,
third
man.
tier? The Cup Winners' Cup was the third tier, wasn't it, of European competition?
It
You
was,
had
but
you
it
had
had
Cup Winners' Cup,
prestige as well,
UEFA Cup.
man.
Yeah,
But it had
I know what you mean. Yeah,
prestige. I mean, listen, when you win your domestic cup, you go into the European Cup Winners' Cup. I remember, Lazio playing Mallorca. I remember Man United playing Barcelona. I remember.
yeah. I remember it. Yeah, too.
Arsenal played Parma in the final.
Yeah.
That was a proper tournament, man. And then
Football's changed now, hasn't
Yeah.
it? Still,
they ditched
and this
it.
is why I think maybe with Tottenham in it next year, and will they blood in a lot of youngsters in these Europa Conference League games, and what it might do to them,
Possibly.
definitely move them up another level playing in European competition.
100%. 100%. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. It's been another eventful show. Unfortunately, Rodriguez fell asleep. He's just texted in the group saying, "Sorry, lads, I dozed off." Oh, well, there you go. Must have been watching rugby or something, or hand throwball, American hand throwball, as they call it. There we go. Right, Andy, thank you for joining us. Steve, thank you.
Thank you, Stel.
Stel, it's been another Premier League season finished, but just to suggest from me and obviously all the guests, the work you put in to get your podcast together and get us all together to have a bit of fun and chat about football, and we just turn up and chat. But the way you put it together, Stel, is absolutely outstanding, mate. So well done to you.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yes.
And I appreciate your support and for being here week in, week out. And
Well done, Stel.
always been the first one to jump onto the call as well.
I'll see you soon, lads.
That's it. Oh, before
Cheers,
we forget, one of your former players won La Liga, didn't they?
Yeah, great. I spoke to him on the morning of the game, just briefly on text and voice note. Basically, all the best, but then got some FaceTime after the game. Kieran Trippier, brilliant. Hoping he gets the England call up tomorrow. But only the fourth English player, I think, to win La Liga. As I suggested before, playing for one of the best defensive coaches in the world. There won't be too many times that Barcelona or Real Madrid don't win La Liga. But this year, it's been Luis Suarez, Diego Simeone, Kieran Trippier, and of course others. So obviously very proud because of his Manchester City background with us at the academy. Obviously, he went down south to play at Tottenham Hotspur to get his career moving after Barnsley and Burnley. But just the most amazing lad and family. So really thrilled to be part of his journey at the start, but still be part of it, certainly from a distance in support. And, to speak to him after the game was emotionally just a fantastic experience. And hopefully he gets the shout tomorrow.
Brilliant. Fantastic. There you go.
Brilliant.
So we'll end the show on a high. We'll be back very soon. The Euros are coming. There's a lot of football coming in the next few weeks. So until next time, ladies and gents, take care.